The Toronto Maple Leafs are facing a critical offseason, with plenty of rumors surrounding the team and contract uncertainties with players like Mitch Marner, John Tavares, and Matthew Knies. Here are some of the latest rumors about the Toronto Maple Leafs offseason, including who they might trade and who they might sign. Nicholas Robertson still prefers to be traded according to reports. This year, Robertson put up 22 points with 15 goals in 69 games in a limited role for the Leafs. One fan suggests Robertson be traded for Nolan Foote, who is a big guy who hasn't put it together yet, but plays a hard forechecking style. Great shot. The fan also suggests Ryan Suzuki as a trade option for someone who is a great skating C, good AHL numbers, who looks ready to make the jump into a bottom six role soon. Finally, Brad Lambert is suggested as a trade option for Robertson, who has huge upside, great skating. Could be a legit 2CPP1 crazy weapon. Could also never be a full-time NHLER. Coming off a meh AHL season, is a few years younger than Nicky Bobby and is a C. 2 years ago, looked amazing in the AHL. Pontus Holmberg could be another potential candidate for a trade for the Toronto Maple Leafs. This year, Holmberg put up 19 points with 7 goals in 68 games, and he is currently a restricted free agent for the Leafs. One trade pitch proposes the Leafs trading prospect Ben Danford, Pontus Holmberg, and their 2028 first-round pick for Braden Shen with salary retained. Another trade pitch sends Nick Robertson and Pontus Holmberg to Dallas for Mason Marchment. The Leafs might consider retaining Holmberg as his contract was good value for his production as one of the most efficient bottom six contributors on the team. David Kampf is a popular candidate for a trade amongst Leafs fans. During the year, he lost his spot in the lineup due to the addition of Scott Laughton. He put up 13 points with 5 goals in 58 games this year and makes a $2.4 million cap hit. One problem with trading David Kampf is that he has a 10-team no-trade list for the 2025 to 2026 season. Jeremy Tingley of the Leafs Nation proposes a Kampf buyout, which would save $800,000 in cap space for the team to use elsewhere. One fan comments, "Happy to see the Leafs are at least contemplating moving on from Kampf. That seems like the smartest decision here. Kalle Järnkrok is another depth player the Leafs could leverage in a trade." One fan says, "Järnkrok is fine, but I think we can get better production for cheaper than Kampf. Like his defensive game, but 2.4 for a 4C is pretty bad." Ryan Reeves did not play at all for the Leafs in the playoffs this year and played in the Toronto Marlies during the season. He could be an obvious player for the Leafs to trade to a team looking for an enforcer. However, it is unlikely the Leafs would receive much value for Reeves at this point. Max Pacioretty is reportedly leaning towards staying with the Leafs after his terrific postseason performance. According to a poll on Maple Leafs Daily, 76.2% of Leafs fans think the team should re-sign Pacioretty. Max Domi is a popular trade option for the Leafs among fans. This year, he put up 33 points with 8 goals in 74 games, with a cap hit of $3.75 million. Some believe that Domi is not producing enough to justify his cap hit and want a trade. However, there are some major roadblocks in a potential Max Domi deal. Domi has a 13-team no-trade list. Additionally, Domi's mediocre performance mean the Leafs may not be able to get valuable pieces back for him. It might be best for Domi to stay in Toronto and work on his game. Joseph Woll could be a tempting trade chip for the Leafs. Woll could be moved to give the Leafs better offensive depth or a top-4 defenseman. However, the Leafs might not want to break up the Stolarz-Woll tandem that performed well for them this season. Additionally, Woll's contract at under $4 million a season is appealing for the cap-strapped team. For these reasons, it is unlikely Woll is traded from the Leafs. One player the Leafs will be looking to re-sign is Steven Lawrence, who started the season on a professional tryout contract and ended it with 19 points in 80 games, tying a career high. He also helped to make the team more physical with 199 hits and 55 blocked shots. Mitch Marner could be involved in a sign and trade agreement. The idea is Marner would be signed to a deal by the Leafs and then traded to get back some return. Cam Robinson of Elite Prospects has said that the Florida Panthers could potentially go through with a sign and trade deal for Marner with the Toronto Maple Leafs. One trade pitch for Mitch Marner involves the Leafs trading him to the Vegas Golden Knights with a 2025 sixth-round pick to get back William Karlsson and a 2026 second-round pick. One fan says about a Marner sign and trade, Marner sign and trade to Panthers, Leafs get Bennett signed and traded from Panthers. One player that the Leafs will not trade is Morgan Rielly. Pierre LeBrun said about Rielly, "He loves being a Leaf. I don't think that needs to be a talking point going forward here. The Leafs are expected to extend Matthew Knies, who is currently a restricted free agent this summer. Knies is expected to make $7 million over 7 years. However, things might not be so simple for the Leafs. Knies is the #1 offer sheet candidate, according to Frank Saravalli, which means a team could try to scoop him up. According to Frank, a team would have to present a deal that really dissuades Toronto from matching, and one way to do that would be to add another $11 million player to their books for the foreseeable future. Luckily for the Leafs, offer sheets on restricted free agents are often rare. The Leafs are also expected to keep former captain John Tavares. NHL insider Elliot Friedman speculates Tavares could get a similar deal to Yanni Gourde, who is making $2.33 million a year for 6 years. One estimate puts Tavares' next contract at around $8 million for 3 years. Another Leafs player who is likely not getting traded is Anthony Stolarz. Stolarz has a modified no-trade clause in the second year of his contract, allowing him to reject trades to 8 teams. Austin Matthews is one Leafs player who is most likely not going anywhere. Former Leafs assistant coach Lane Lambert said what impressed him the most about Austin Matthews was his team-first attitude. Here's what fans had to say about who the Leafs should trade and keep. One fan says, "Too much overhaul." The 4 players to trade are Rielly, Domi, Jarnkrok, Kampf. If Rielly won't accept trade Leafs, buy him out. Next season, Leafs would save $5.5 million with buyout, or $7.5 million if he is traded. Rielly must go. He is weakest defenseman on Leaf team. Another fan speculates about a Rickard Rakell trade with Pittsburgh, writing, "To Leafs, Rickard Rakell acquired from Pittsburgh to Penguins Ben Danford, Nick Robertson, Max Domi, and David Kampf for cap purposes, and a 2025 third if necessary. Leafs signed Knies at $8 to $8.5 million for 8 years. Knies, Matthews, Rakell." Now, let's talk a little bit about who the Leafs might sign in free agency to improve their team. Brad Marchand is one gritty playoff performer the Leafs could consider signing to their team to improve their playoff performance. This season, Marchand put up 51 points with 23 goals in 71 games for both the Bruins and Panthers. In the playoffs, Marchand has put up 10 goals and 20 points in 22 games so far. One estimate has Marchand signing at $5 million over 2 years. Corey Perry is another veteran playoff performer the Leafs could use on their team. Perry put up 30 points with 19 goals in 81 games this season. In the playoffs, Perry has scored 10 goals in 21 games at the time of this video. One estimate has Perry signing at around $1 million for 1 year. Sam Bennett is yet another physical playoff performer many teams in the league would love to have. This season, Bennett put up 51 points with 25 goals in 76 games. This playoffs, Bennett has a league-leading 15 goals in 22 games. However, Cam Robinson of Elite Prospects has said about Bennett, "Teams continue to prepare sizable offers should he make it to July 1st. Appears his preference is to stay in USA. This means Bennett is unlikely to play for Toronto." One estimate puts Bennett's next contract at $6.6 million over 6 years. Jonathan Toews could help the Leafs bolster their center depth at a low cost. In his last season in the NHL, Toews had 31 points with 15 goals in 53 games. Toews also has plenty of playoff experience with 3 Stanley Cups and 119 points in 137 playoff games. According to Darren Drager, Winnipeg, Colorado, Toronto, and Tampa Bay are still in the mix for Jonathan Toews. Toews is expected to make a league minimum deal for 1 year. If the Leafs are looking for replacements for Mitch Marner, Brock Boeser and Nikolaj Ehlers could be potential options. This year, Boeser put up 50 points with 25 goals in 75 games. Ehlers put up 63 points with 24 goals in 69 games. One estimate has Boeser making $8.5 million over 6 years, and Ehlers making $8 million over 6 years. Finally, Aaron Ekblad could be an interesting option for the Leafs, as the Leafs could use a top 4 defenseman. However, Steve Simmons of the Toronto Sun has said the Leafs have no interest in going after Ekblad, stating, "Also, word out of Florida is that the Panthers don't have a whole lot of interest in re-signing the veteran defenseman Ekblad. If Bennett is available, the Maple Leafs will be among those bidding for the center from Holland Landing. He's the perfect fit, price aside, for the DNA roster switch the Leafs are attempting. Leafs apparently have no interest in Ekblad. So, who do you think the Leafs should trade? Who do you think the Leafs should sign? Like this video and subscribe to my channel if you want more hockey content. Thank you very much."